Hey guys, Justin Robinson here, Vice President of Cross-Flight Sky Solutions, and I just coming to you for day 4 of our video series on high school drone use. This one's going to be quicker and easier, not for you, but for me, because there's not much I can tell you except for just give you some warnings and give you a little information. You can see the topics we've covered. We'll be going through tomorrow policies and procedures, which is probably the most important for most districts, but not necessarily for the teachers involved in teaching it. So hope you've enjoyed the series. Moving on to liability. Okay, liability, for the most part, this is what you need to know. And within 0.82 seconds, I got nearly 6 million results from Google, so I'm just going to share with you what they say. Does my liability policy cover aircraft? No. Guess what? Your drone is considered an aircraft. So that means that your liability policy probably has an exclusion from covering aircraft. Not a huge problem, except for most people, including school districts and even some major companies, do not realize that drones are considered aircraft, so they don't even know they're at risk. If you got nothing else from this whole video series, I hope that this is helpful and that you're able to go and get insured, make sure that you're keeping yourself covered. Because I know school districts do have a lot of liability anyway. So knowing that I need that, where do I go to get coverage? Well, it's different for a school district or for a major business. Small companies, they use a company typically called Verifly or other options where you can actually be covered for each flight. Well, that becomes difficult when you go through purchasing and procurement to get covered by the hour for drone flights. So probably not your best option. I'm sure that you can get covered a policy extension written on, and it's not going to be that big a deal. So, but you need to make sure that you do that and go through it. So if anything else, send this to your risk management folks in the school district and let them go on and make sure that you've got the coverage that you need if you're using drones. One of the other things that's important to note here is, even if your district is covered, what about other people flying over your property? I can just about guarantee you they're not covered. That's a huge liability for you as a school district if you knowingly allow people to fly, probably outside of regulations anyway, on your school property. They're not covered. So what are the requirements? Drone Guru, one of the best blogs out there for finding information. Check them out. Go out there and look. This is very interesting. You got to make sure that you have everything necessary on each site. Our flight binder is a good example of that, which comes with our training. To get your certification, you get the flight binder with all the documentation the FAA would want you to have to make sure that you're going through the proper procedures. But the next one's a big one. This is not necessarily always true, but for liability purposes of a school district or a large corporation, we like to see at least 20 hours, but 50 hours is preferred. That means logged time. Not that I say, oh, I've flown 50 hours with a drone. You have logged flight time of 20 hours or more. They're saying on their site 50. It just depends. You know, you'd have to deal with your insurance company. But you also have to make sure that you're following all the regulations and procedures, because if not, you're going to be liable anyway. A lot of times we look at things and we look at liabilities, but we don't really think about the fact that civil liability is probably more important than breaking the regulations. You're going to be guilty in court and lose more in that situation anyway. So basically on this video, I've went through the different things. Make sure that you check and make sure that your coverage includes aircraft. Make sure your drones are registered. Make sure you're following the regulations, and then find a way to cover yourself liability-wise. Probably lots of questions here. Shoot those over at info@crossflightskysolutions.com, but it probably needs to go up the chain, and you need to talk to your insurance company and make sure that you're covered. Also want to look at setting up your policies and procedures so that you make sure your district's covered. As always, thanks for watching. Go out and fly safe. We'll see you tomorrow.